What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by Adam, Dylan, Kev. We are here to give you a live recap of the NFC and AFC championship games. The Falcons will meet the Patriots in Super Bowl number 51. It's going to be an exciting game. Two great offenses, two great quarterbacks, and we have a lot to discuss about both those teams and also the collapses of the other teams that they played, the Steelers, the Packers. We're going to break down the games, two not very exciting games, but nonetheless, we're going to get into that. Offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, break down the statistics, the players, the performances, everything. If you guys have questions in the live chat, definitely let us know. We will be answering as many questions as we possibly can in the chat as well. Let's just start off by going through everybody's reactions to today's games. Did you enjoy the games? What did you see from the games? And just what were you doing? Where'd you watch the games? Adam, let's start first.
Well, what a day it was. Two games that I thought were going to be a lot closer and see some good football. But if you look at the rest of the playoffs so far, this made it 8 of 10 games that were double-digit wins. First, the Atlanta game. It's something I really expected. I did think Atlanta was going to put it to the Packers. My big reason was because of the defensive pressure the Falcons do get, and they showed early that they were getting to Rodgers. And I think just Rodgers and that Packers offense ran out of magic. I think if you look at the games, Rodgers kind of put the team on his shoulder with some great throws, and I think he kind of ran out of a little luck. And then when it came down to it, that offense, that Atlanta offense really is special. I'm likening it to the greatest show on turf with the Rams. I think it's going to be interesting next week. Obviously, we'll get in that. But they really impressed me, and I think Julio Jones was just too much, and I think you saw Mohamed Sanu be a very good second receiver in that game. All in all, it was fun to watch that first game. And then the Patriots, I respect the Patriots, but I did take Pittsburgh. So I'm going to have to admit that. I did take the Steelers to win. Without Bell, I still don't even think, even if they had Bell, it was going to be tough. But that being said, my biggest surprise in that Patriots game was definitely the defense. It seems like doesn't matter what type of players, they're just coached perfectly. I want to go into practice for them a week into the Super Bowl or a week for prep because those coaches have those players ready. They play a zone defense a lot of the time and have everyone picked off. They played great, and I think they were the big reason why they won that game. Obviously, Patriots offense is always going to do their thing. I thought Pittsburgh's defense was going to play a little bit better. They didn't. So that's all I got on that for right now.
Dylan.
All right, coming into these games, I was expecting a little bit closer. Obviously, we saw 2 blowouts. But I knew coming in the Falcons' offense was the best thing about them. They were very explosive all year. They didn't have much of a run game today, which was surprising, but they didn't really need to. Matt Ryan was crazy good. Julio Jones. Mohamed Sanu, of course, is the receiver they need to look forward to if they need a different target other than Julio Jones. The defense stepped up, made good plays. The biggest play of the game for me was 10-0 Falcons. Packers were about to score, and then the Ripkowski fumble and recovery, which we were talking about. One defensive play can change the game, and that was one for me. So the Falcons capitalized, scored 21 more points before the Packers even scored 7. So, for me, the Falcons were just the better team. They were hotter, and the Packers had a shit ton of injuries, which hurt them very much going into this game. For Steelers and Patriots, I was kind of disappointed. I thought it was going to be a lot better game. I thought the Steelers, even though I predicted the Patriots to win, I thought the Steelers were going to bring it up a little bit more, do some stuff. Leveon Bell got hurt, so that kind of hurt them a lot, but no guy really stepped up for me there. I thought there was going to be something different for the Steelers, and they just weren't able to bring it. Patriots, they always find a way to win differently every single time. Tom Brady had one of his best games, of course, most in his career, 384 passing yards for the postseason. So he's still on fire, but they found a guy that I'll talk about later that no one else believed me. I was going to say it was. But they just find a way to win defensively. They were able to stop whatever Pittsburgh was trying to create, and they were obviously the better team in the AFC. So I think both teams deserved to win to get to Super Bowl 51, and they were really, really good today.
Kevel, what you think, man?
Well, I think we'll get into this a little bit more, but the Packers lost on the opening drive, quite frankly. Even the fumble, but the opening drive, I don't understand why you defer and not give the ball to Aaron Rodgers and you establish your dominance. The Falcons went down and scored. They've scored on 7 straight. I just think that they were outcoached. I think Dan Quinn. I love Kyle Shanahan. Yes, he's great, but Dan Quinn brings such a different atmosphere to Atlanta. There's a certain swagger about that. That defense is underrated. How good that defense is. They're physical. They're tough. I underestimated that for sure. And I didn't think that New England Pittsburgh was that terrible of a game. But the fact of the matter is Pittsburgh have shot themselves in the foot. They have 1 touchdown in 7 quarters. They've had a number of red zone opportunities. They continue to be all style, no substance. That is the fact. And Ben proved he was an overrated quarterback. He wasn't great today. There was a bunch of drop balls, but I wasn't surprised that New England beat him by that much. I just felt that New England was that much better than Pittsburgh. And I think it proved it, Leveon Bell or not, there was no difference in this game. But
okay, for me, I just looked at this, and the big takeaway for me is we have 2 teams that I thought were a little bit one-dimensional. They were a little bit too reliant on certain playmakers, and the 2 best teams ended up winning the games. And that's what it comes down to in the NFL, especially now in this year. You know, the Steelers, 3 guys really that I looked at: Ben, Bell, Brown. And Bell goes down, which doesn't help, obviously. But it didn't really look like Bell was going to have a successful day, at least on the ground. He might have helped in the receiving game, especially trying to come back later in the game. But the Patriots, of course, coached very well. The other side, the Falcons, I mean, it was all on Aaron Rodgers. And once you go down 7-0, 10-0, at 10-0, that's like game's over. They can't stop them. Their defense is terrible. They have no secondary. They have no pass rush. I mean, Packers need to start from scratch. I know they have a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but they need to bring some guys into free agency, draft some guys. They need to give Aaron Rodgers a defense that can actually hold up and give him something on the opposite side of the field. Let's get to some of these comments, and then we'll dive into the games. So let's start off. Bodo Winter. I'm so embarrassed as a Steelers fan. Fire Tomlin. That could happen. I don't think it will happen this year. I think he has a couple excuses to say. I think that a lot of people across the league still look at Tomlin and view him as a top coach. Personally, I have never viewed Tomlin as a good coach. I've viewed him as an average coach, and I think it showed today. Coach is in the comment section once again. Derek Mullaney. Pats thus far out-coaching, out-executing the Steelers. Pats are very, very good at paying attention to details. Shout out to Chris Hogan, the Laxer. Definitely shout out to the Laxers across the globe. Chris Hogan showing out for us. Nice to see you, Chris Hogan, playing like a beast. Bodo says once again, by the way, are you the 25-year-old that set off the fire alarm? No, I'm not. I do not live in Boston, so I could. I would have. Tony Snow said Falcons. We have a lot of Falcons fans in here. That Turtle says Falcons. Bodo Winter talking about the Falcons. I wasn't surprised about the Steelers game. Tomlin is out-of-date coach. The Falcons destroyed the Seahawks defense, which is better than the Patriots defense. I'm not sure about that. Let's get into the games. Let's start off with the early game, which is the Green Bay Packers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons 44-21 dominated the entire game. I don't think you can even debate that. 24-0 at halftime. They went up 31-0 before the Packers even scored. From the very beginning, like Dilly Vanilli pointed out, 10-0. Kevin said they've scored on 7 straight opening drives. They score there. Reminds me a lot of the 07 offense, the way they would just score. Patriots 07 offense, how they'd score first drive every single time. Falcons score first drive. They had the ball first, which I thought was a mistake for the Packers. They should have tried and got the ball first. I'm not sure if they did or not. I didn't know what happened in the coin toss.
They deferred. They deferred.
So, yeah, I definitely think they should have received. Then they get a field goal because Crosby missed a field goal. That was big. So it just seemed like the momentum, all the luck that the Packers had kind of went the opposite way. And the game kind of unraveled that way, and the Falcons just took advantage. Their offense is too good. You can't not answer And that was the exact same thing. In both these games, I was thinking, if the Patriots score here, Steelers need to answer. If the Falcons score here, the Packers need to answer. And it went both ways for both of these games. So let's start off with the quarterback play of Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers, 27 for 45, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Matt Ryan, 27 for 38, 392, 4 touchdowns, 0 interception. And
hey, Mitch.
Yeah.
What was his first half? Because I think that's the impressive
I have
thing.
no idea. I think he had 2 or 3
total team yards. They were over 300. I think
It was over 300.
It was 22 for 32, 280, something like that, and 3 TDs.
Yeah, so Matt Ryan absolutely dominated this game. Kind of expected that. As I said, against the Cowboys, there was guys running wide open for the Cowboys last week. I thought the Falcons would take advantage. Mike Shanahan had a game plan. They executed it to perfection, and they're in the Super Bowl. What's your guys' thoughts on the quarterback play today? Start off with Adam.
Well, you got to give it to Matty Ice. Just a huge, big-time performance. NFC Championship, he's been there before. Obviously, they got off to a 17-point lead like 4 years ago against San Fran. Lost that one, but this is a new Matty Ice, I think, that we're seeing at Atlanta. It's going to be – see what he does in the Super Bowl, but as quarterbacks mature, he's always put numbers, but he seems more of a leader, and now the GMs brought some pieces in that are electric. The Sanu might be the most underrated signing of the offseason last year, just what he's able to do. And then if you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, I said this before, we were talking last week, just if you can get pressure on him and your DBs can just – obviously they were going against some injured receivers, but I think the way Aaron Rodgers ran out of luck, I think the pressure of the Atlanta defense, Kevin was saying, really impressed with that Atlanta defense. I still don't think Atlanta's defense is great, but their defensive line gets so much pressure, and they have quality, not all-stars at the DB positions or the linebacker position, but they have very solid players. So I think it was more to do with Rodgers about Atlanta's defense than it was Rodgers just having a bad game.
Yeah, Adam, I want to point out something. I think the Atlanta defense, what was really huge for them, and this is part of the reason why I picked Atlanta, I thought they matched up very well with the Packers offense, not only because the Packers offense was injured, but the Falcons at home, they have that crowd noise and everything, and it affects how they play because they play very fast. They kind of remind me of the old Colts teams, like back when Peyton was with the Colts. They have fast pass rushers, they have fast linebackers, and they play solid. They basically play the Seahawks scheme, but they're very fast. They're not as talented in certain positions, but they're coached very well, and they have, like Kevel always says, they have a lot of swagger, and I think that definitely helps, especially when they've been on this roll on defense where you gain confidence, and you just play better and better. So, yeah, they definitely played really good, and they did surprise me a little bit, but I did expect them to give the Packers a little bit of trouble because they're so fast on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, like I said, last week, I guess on Kevin's podcast, they were 3rd in NFL hurries in the NFL regular season, but only had 17 sacks. So it's, you can take that 2 ways. Is it you're getting pressure and then a guy like Aaron Rodgers is getting away to make big plays? But they showed that they can get in your face and cause problems. And then, like I said, you just need your DBs just to cover just for a bit longer against Rodgers. And the thing is, too, they didn't allow Rodgers out of the pocket. Obviously, most of Rodgers' yards came in garbage time late, right, where you're just like, prevent defense almost. But, yeah, I'm really impressed with that Atlanta defensive line.
I think in a way almost they kind of took some of that Cowboys game plan of blitzing those corners, and you saw a lot of blitzing from outside, and they kind of tried to keep Rodgers inside the pocket because they were showing all those graphics before the game of Rodgers is 82% outside the pocket and this inside the pocket. And I think that was a huge game plan. And again, back to their speed, it just helps when you're that fast and you're able to chase down the quarterback. Dylan, what did you think of the quarterback play today?
I don't think Aaron Rodgers was that bad. I mean, he played not great, especially to his level. A couple of drop passes from his receivers. But at the end of the day, it came down to that defense was trying to get a lot of pressure on him. Of course, like you guys brought up, you can't have Aaron Rodgers go to the outside of the pocket because he's probably one of the best of all time at doing that. He can find pretty much anybody. You can usually find a guy like Cook or Cobb or somebody like that. but they weren't able to have explosive games. It just came down to the defense was able to see what happened in the game last week with the Cowboys, knew where they were going to have to do, like who they were going to have to stop in order to get the win. And they did a pretty dang good job of minimizing certain players. And then when it comes to Matt Ryan, like he's the MVP for me this season. He's just played so well. He's got more mature as he's gone on. He's got more leadership. I think he feels like he is up to that level of, all right, I'm in that top 5 quarterbacks. Of course, he's not going to say that, but I think he feels like he's more confident than ever this season because he's got the talent around him. He feels like this is a complete team. And he's got, of course, Julio Jones, my opinion, the best receiver in the game, just knows Julio Jones is so smart. Of course, 9 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that ridiculous catch in the third quarter. So he's got that talent around him. Mohamed Sanu was a great pickup for them in the offseason, like Adam said. I just think he just played so well. He played to the level where you could think in your head, like, man, this Patriots team better be looking out because I know they got a good defense and whatnot, but Matt Ryan put up all the numbers. And you can sit here and say, the Packers were injured on the defensive side. It doesn't matter. He put how many did he put up against?
I don't really like. I don't want to. I know we're gonna say that Matt Ryan was amazing in this game, and he was. But to me, I expected this. Maybe that's high expectations on my part. But I just watched this Packers defense. I'm like, this is the worst defense in the league.
Well, I didn't expect him to score 44 points. I expected
because I thought that the Packers would score more, so therefore that both teams would be a little bit lower. You know,
I said 34-31 coming into this game. So take away 10 for the Packers and put 10 more on the board for the Falcons, I guess. But just to me, look at this: 27-38, 392. We said I think 280 of those, like Kevel said, came in the first half. The 4 touchdowns, it was ridiculous. He just knew where certain guys were going to be. Of course, Micah Hyde was out. So many other players were injured, so that kind of takes it away. But still, you got to give the man credit. He had an absolutely fantastic game and a lot of momentum coming into the Super Bowl in 2 weeks.
Definitely agree with that. I want to get to some quick comments before we get to Kev. Tony Snow has a good question. Do you think the Patriots will miss Jamie Collins and his coverage skills versus the Atlanta running backs Freeman and Coleman? First off, I don't want to give too much away about the game because we're going to be talking about it a lot, but I will say this. I think that the Patriots' weakness all year long has been linebackers and coverage. But since they've switched to more zone coverage, I think they've kind of been able, with coaching and some adjustments, to be able to hide that a little bit. I also think that they've done a really good job of creating their best matchups. So at times in the past, you would see like a Hightower or Collins covering a running back. But now it seems that the Patriots have become smarter with that. And now you're seeing Chung and McCourty and those safeties stepping up and covering the running backs, which Chung has been excellent all year long, and he's very underappreciated in that aspect of the game. So I think that will be a huge matchup for the Patriots defense, and I think that's a possible area where the Atlanta can expose them. But I wouldn't say that it would be like a ridiculous game where they just go off. But that would be one of the areas where, as a Patriots fan, I would be concerned. And that's why I thought that Atlanta could have been the toughest matchup for the Patriots, and it probably will be because they're the best team in the NFC, and they proved that. I thought that they would be the toughest matchup for the Patriots because of their offense and because of what Kyle Shanahan does with the way that he tries to get his guys open. So I definitely think that's a great question. Thanks for asking the question. And definitely they'll have their challenges, but I think they've done better as the season has progressed. Also, what do we have? That turtle yet again. If you walk onto the field with the Patriots, you come in intimidated. So that is a weak spot for the Falcons. Yeah, maybe for a young team, but they have a lot of momentum. Winter, once again, a problem I see is that the Pack didn't shut down. I think he said did shut down the running at first. If that happens with the Pats will kill them. Does he mean that? I think he means that they shut down the Falcons running game. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. The Pack shut down the Falcons game, which I don't know if I can agree with that. I mean, I understand the point and whatnot, but you obviously see how many guys that they were going to on the run or the receiving game. So
you really realize your defensive backs aren't very good when you're stopping the run and they're still passing consistently on you. Like you're in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s. That was a huge area of the game. And for me, the quarterbacks, let's get to Kev right now. But I just want to point out that I think Matt Ryan, especially on 3rd down, was absolutely huge. Kev.
Yeah, what were the 3rd down stats?
3rd down stats. Let me scroll down on NFL.com. 3rd down efficiency, 10 for 13. 76%.
They did not score on only 3 drives. One of them was in garbage time. One was a punt, and the other was a field goal. The rest
that was even higher than the Patriots' 11 for 17 on 64%.
Well, a couple of things here that I'm just going to point out. I thought you can't say anything more about Matt Ryan than what has already been said. He was excellent on a number of different things. He used his receivers really well. Not only Julio Jones. He was actually the leading rusher in the first half as well. And don't forget, he also ran in for a touchdown today as well.
Yeah, that was almost comedic.
Yeah, it actually was. But that's fine. In terms of the running game, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still not sold on that running game. I'm not sold on Freeman and Coleman. I think they're great receivers. But I think in terms of runs, just something not clicking with me today. I thought as bad as that Packers defense was, they did contain the run. The Packers defense was terrible. Clay Matthews, can we have a conversation about Clay Matthews? Because
I just want to point out Clay Matthews was number 8 on the most overrated players on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Also, we'll get to the defensive players, but we're focused on the quarterbacks. Kev, anything else to say about the quarterbacks? Sorry, I jumped off topic there. I just wanted to say that Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers wasn't bad. He had him moving down the field, especially at the start. They missed a field goal, and then there was a turnover at the end zone there. Had either one of those go in, they're still in the game for a bit there. So, and they would have had a little bit of momentum. And again, the big mistake was not giving Rodgers the ball first. Let him establish himself because this was his. I think in a lot of ways this was Green Bay's opportunity. I think that they were outcoached.
I definitely saw. I don't know if you guys saw the expression on Rodgers' face after he scored, or the Falcons scored the first touchdown. He was just like, "This is going to be."
He was very
like all have to score a lot to win this game. That was basically his expression, and they didn't get it done, especially with the fumble. You kind of just knew it wasn't going the Packers' way. Like last week, they had a fumble where somehow Rodgers and the running back didn't look at each other, but it still landed in the running back's hand. Like that was the difference between these 2 weeks.
And I also thought, like, coming into this, or like when I saw that, I was like, these are 2 different teams. Like, the Cowboys' defense isn't exactly the greatest of them all, but I knew that Rodgers could find a way to make it competent to where he could find his plays, and the Packers' defense was like solidifying, making at least a couple of key plays where Micah Hyde was stepping up. A couple players where
Hyde actually didn't play. I didn't even know that until the injury.
Well, no, he played. He got injured in the game.
Yeah, he was playing in the slot at the beginning of the first quarter.
Yeah, and then coming into this game, everything about the Falcons' offense, to me, I know as a Cowboys fan, it just got multiplied times 2. Like their offense is very stacked. They're very fast. Let's go. Tempo is the key for them, and scoring first was the key. So when he saw that it was 7-0 already for the Falcons, like
that's how they beat the Cowboys.
I know, but it's just like
and then even maybe to help to make Dylan feel better, might not. But if you think about it, even if the Cowboys just played like their defense woke up, like even at the late first quarter instead of the second half, like that game, it should have been Dallas, right? Like Dallas's defense kind of didn't wake up till the second half to stop Rodgers, because they showed some good stuff in the second half of that game last week, right? Yeah. Obviously and then they get the sack, and then obviously that 30-yard bomb into and that's what I was kind of saying with Rodgers. I don't know if this team wasn't the destined team.
No,
it wasn't, because although they had the great run where they after 4-6 run the table shit, there's a reason why they were 4-6. Like they weren't really that great all along. The defense had so many struggles. I'm not counting about the Cowboys game last week, but like the first matchup when it was Packers and Cowboys at Lambeau, I saw so many opportunities where they could have won that game, and they just let it happen. They just let everything run into them, and they got pressured.
Guys, you got to realize it. At some point, whether it was going to happen this week or next week, the Packers were going to get steamrolled at some point. It was just going to happen. I don't think they were going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they have one player. This is why people were comparing Aaron Rodgers to Michael Jordan in certain situations. I mean,
Michael Jordan.
There was comparisons of that, and they may be ridiculous. Okay, they may be ridiculous, but you understand why they're saying that, because Green Bay wasn't the team. They didn't have a defense. They had a lot of weaknesses. They couldn't run the football with any consistency. So for me, Rodgers was carrying that team. They went up against a team on the road, the last game in the Georgia Dome, against a team that is on fire, an offense that is historically very good, and they just got steamrolled. It happened. I mean, it happened to John Elway. It happened to Dan Marino. It happened to all the great quarterbacks with nothing around them. It just happens.
I want to point out something, though, here. I think that one of the things, I mean, the Green Bay is in a mini impressive run, but what they haven't had an NFC championship game at home in 7 years. And I think a lot of these games, not having a bye, having to go down to the wire, not being able to rest their players, I think is starting to hurt them. I think that they need to win a division, and I think they need to be in a bye situation and get a home game. I think this is a little bit of a different game if it's at home. I think Atlanta still wins because they were obviously dominant, but I think Green Bay needs a home game. They've been on the road a lot, and I think it's just where on this team, having that physical game against Dallas, the last game of the season against Detroit, the rematch against Detroit. Go on and on and on. You're just playing too much football. The bye is the big thing. That Atlanta got the bye, got the home field advantage, and that's part of the reason why they're in the Super Bowl.
And you could tell with all their injuries. I mean, Jordy Nelson, credit to that man. We're going to move on to the receivers because credit to Jordy Nelson. I mean, this guy was an absolute beast today, despite being injured and not even supposed to be playing. He had 6 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. But he was the guy really at the beginning of the game, especially to try and get the Packers moving along. And he was the only guy that was consistently getting open for the Packers when they needed it earlier in the game. And yet it didn't amount to anything. He was still playing well. Cobb had 6 for 82. Much of that came in the second half. Jared Cook, 7 for 78 and a touchdown. He dropped a few key passes. Yep. He didn't make any miraculous catches on the sideline. He had a touchdown. Ripkowski had that fumble. He had 2 for 28. And Adams didn't show up. 3 catches, 16 yards, and a touchdown. On the other side, Julio Jones absolutely dominated. Best receiver in football, 9 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns with a 73-yard catch. Sanu, 5 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And Freeman, the running back, 4 for 42 and a touchdown. It's going to be interesting to see how the Patriots match up against this team next week. But as far as the Packers, we knew they didn't have the answers, and that's basically what it came down to. Thought Julio would have a huge game, and he did. I mean, you're going to put Gunter against them. Give me a break.
Freaking Gunter, bro.
These guys were running open, man. And when they weren't running open, they were winning their one-on-one battles, and Matt Ryan was hitting them. I did think that the Falcons corners were a little bit more competitive than I thought. I also thought the Packers guys just looked like they were struggling through the game, which doesn't help. Thoughts on the receivers?
Injuries happen, right? And it's the whole thing talking about the Packers, again, like if they were good enough to win it all or good enough to even do well. Because I actually think they could be on a downspin just because of that NFC North next year. I think Minnesota's going to be better. But besides the point, injuries happen. All credit to Nelson for getting it done, injured. But still, like, it's hard to look at the Packers numbers and think anything of it because the game was over. And in garbage time, guys are going to get yards. I do think when we're talking about the drops, Cook did drop, I think, a key third down early in the game when it was still like 10-17. It was something reasonable, right? But you got to catch the ball on that. And Julio Jones, I think Dylan said it, definitely my top receiver in the NFL. It's one thing for looking forward against the Pats. It's one thing to go with Antonio Brown. That's a little more possession, but it's one thing going against like a 6'5" freak of an athlete that can do it all. I think that's going to be a huge matchup, and he proved again that he can get open. Obviously, he was against Gunter. Sanu was was huge for me as well in that game, making huge catches. Gabriel was quiet. I think he could, in the Super Bowl, watch out for him. And then their tight ends did enough to get open. And then obviously their running backs can catch it out of the backfield. And that was Gabriel.
I did think Gabriel kind of struggled in this game.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was running the best routes and trying to get open, because I think, he had a drop.
He had a couple drops. It just didn't seem like he was really, I don't know, he just didn't have his best game tonight. It happens. I mean,
he had a pretty key fumble recovery when there was 5 Packers around the ball. And
that was what the heck happened, Ryan?
That was depressing because
Ryan linebacker, man, he just missed the ball like completely.
That's got to be sad because I don't know when that was, but it was still relatively like if we get this, we could still make a game out of this. Just didn't do it, so that's depressing. But for me, when it comes to the receivers, Green Bay, I understand in playoff situations, you're going to go in there, you might be a little bit hurt, and you're going to power through it. But come on, like Nelson had the broken ribs, and credit to the man. He tried his very hardest and did have a really good first 2 possessions before everything just went to shit for them. We talked about Devontae Adams, had a hurt ankle coming into this game and started practice on Saturday. So he wasn't really at 100%. Like, I don't know. It just really wasn't working out for them. They weren't really getting open as much as Aaron Rodgers would want them to. Aaron Rodgers was making the plays for himself to get out of the pocket so he could make these throws at times, and then his receivers wouldn't be open. So he just wasn't able to he wasn't able to make his plays. And then when it comes to the receivers for Atlanta, when I talked about Julio Jones, when Atlanta traded up to get him in the 8th pick of the first round, I believe it was 2010, I said it was one of the best picks of the draft. He's a really great receiver. He's got a lot of talent, and it's certainly one that Atlanta was like 24th, I believe, and they traded all the way down to 8th to get him. I thought it was a great pick. Of course, it's working out for him. He's the number 1 receiver in the game. Outstanding catches, the 73-yard touchdown where he got 2 defenders. Absolutely could have gotten him. They could have gotten him down. He ran all the way for the touchdown. That flip catch was amazing. He's going to be somebody, of course, coming into the Super Bowl that's really going to be looked out for. Mohamed Sanu, the secret target, he had a great game, especially on that first 2 drives, was able to get open. And, like, Julio Jones early on wasn't exactly on fire. He had a little bit of like 2 or 3 catches in the first 2 drives or whatnot. But Mohamed Sanu was the guy that we were paying attention to, and he was making the good plays. So that's key for them. Freeman and Coleman, we talked about it. Not exactly the greatest runners, but they're really good receiving backs. They had a good job. They did a good job tonight. And for me, it came down to who was running the best routes. And for me, the Falcons ran the best routes, made it more successful, and the Packers just weren't able to figure out this defense for Atlanta, which is not necessarily not the hardest thing to do. So,
all right.
Can I say something here? Sorry. A couple of other quick things. That offensive line for Atlanta, can we give them some kudos? Because that's an outstanding offensive line. 2 key signings, Alex Mack was probably one of the best free agent signings, but another underrated one other than Sanu, Adam, I would say was Leveon as well.
The Bills.
That's a really tough offensive line. They did a great job today. Kudos to them. They've got a lot of toys to play with. It's gonna, and they're in a dome, so they'll have a lot of fun receiving wise, offensive wise in a couple weeks.
Okay, let's just touch on the running backs. We kind of did that. Any comments on the Packers run game? I mean, Aaron Rodgers led the team.
I don't really know if it was there.
led the team with 46 yards on 4 attempts. And they only ran the other times 3 for 17 for their lead back Montgomery, 6 for 11 for Michael, who was awful, and Hundley 1 for 14. That was their run game.
They did absolutely nothing on the run game. Aaron Rodgers 46 yards, and that's the most of the for the Packers. And 2 of those were wide open in the third quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Give them space.
Again, like Adam's been saying, it's garbage. It's garbage yards. Like, am I supposed to give this man credit for it? I don't really know. And then one of the other runs, he got a face mask on it, so congratulations. I don't know. It's not really existent. I think going into the second half, there was 4 or 5 run plays for the Packers in the first half. I was like, good Lord. There was nothing there. They're going to have to invest Well, I mean, they've got Eddie Lacy, but I've always thought like he's just been very inconsistent. So going into the offseason, they might have to pick somebody up or draft somebody. There is a talented running back class, so maybe they want to do something with that.
All right.
I have a hot take on Ripkowski.
Hot take.
So everyone's been loving Ripkowski because he's had some big plays in the end of the season, or like everyone likes the fullback running sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I think it got to his head because you got to go down when you're 5 versus 1. They had 5 guys on him. That's when you go down, and he in his head thought he was going to break that, and then all of a sudden you have 2 guys
I
coming
want my
in.
boy Kuhn back. He was the
He should have gone down. He's 5 versus 1, and he's fighting for extra yards, and that's just Rip Central City right there, and it happened that way.
Well, to be fair,
I think he thought he was John Kuhn. He was going to put the team on his back when they needed him, and didn't work out.
I told you, man. Kuhn is a legend over there.
He is.
And then I saw this Ripkowski dude. I'm like, oh god.
Nah, not the same.
Nah.
Goku says Green Bay is one-dimensional. Check.
Yeah,
AP is available, says Tony Snow.
Nah, I think he's past his prime. I'm sorry to everybody.
Who's that? Sorry?
Adrian Peterson.
I'm sorry.
No.
What he did in the regular season.
No. Don't beat the Seahawks. No.
He's over the hill, bro. Over the hill. Beat the Seahawks.
All right. Let's go to the defense. Let's focus on Atlanta for the most part because I know that we want to get to a certain number 52 on the Packers. We will. Let's get to the Atlanta boys over there. So let's get to their D-backs. Jalen Collins had a forced fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Allen had an interception, and Poole I thought was impressive in the slot. He's kind of a guy that's not really gotten a lot of attention. He's undrafted free agent. 7 tackles, led the team. Alford 5 tackles, led the team. I think Alford is kind of a weakness, which I think the Patriots will try and exploit. But their DBs aren't the greatest. I mean, they play a ton of zone, and they kind of try and hide that fact. I think, like you saw against the Steelers today, the Patriots will probably have a lot of success at passing the ball. But they're very confident, and I think it will really rely on their pass rush. But don't want to really talk about the Patriots game too much. Just I thought that these guys played well. They were confident. They tackled well. They were very physical, I thought, with the injured receivers, which was big. The guys wanted no part playing in this game in the first half, and they played well. I thought they made some plays, forced fumble, interception to get their team and their offense, this potent offense, enough to win this game. And they definitely did a great job. Their defensive line, I think, of course, against the Patriots, they'll probably need a guy to step up in the interior. And I thought we saw a couple guys stepped up with a couple sacks. Jackson stepped up with a sack. He was one of the guys that a lot of people, especially I think Aikman and Joe Buck, we're talking about this. They need a guy to step up because they had a couple injuries in the interior defensive line. But a couple guys did step up and got some pressure. Like we said, they sent a lot of blitzes from the edge, and they got pressure like that. Their speed kind of caused Aaron Rodgers to run around in circles and just take a sack and throw the ball away, throw bad passes. So their defense definitely showed up. They played well. And again, they're playing with a lot of confidence. Any guys on their defense that kind of surprised you, or you're like, oh, that guy, or this guy, he stood out. Any guys that stood out for you guys on the Atlanta defense? I think most of the guys that were good were just good, like regularly.
Yeah, I like that Rashad Hagman. It's funny because I didn't watch a lot of Atlanta Falcons football this year. They weren't on TV that much, but from what I did watch and watching this game, it reminded me. Remember when they were in Hard Knocks two years ago?
Never watched that show.
Oh, okay. It's the greatest show, but Hagman was one of these guys that they're just like, you're a great player. You got to just learn how to play to your potential, man. Like, we're going to cut you if you don't play well. And he would, leave practice and all this crazy shit. But it's nice to see him step up. My one thing we were talking, was this the best conference for quarterbacks? Is this the worst conference playoff teams for defensive backs for all 4 teams?
Oh,
no
my
offense. There's
God,
a couple
man.
good players for corners. Besides Butler, I don't know. It was pretty bad this weekend.
Yeah. What's up, Mitch?
I think the Patriots have the 2 best corners.
If you're saying Eric, please
Butler
don't say Eric.
and Ryan, I think are the 2 best corners.
Ryan played well, but when we talk about the Super Bowl this game, because I got something against Eric Rowe got beat deep like 4 to 5 times against, obviously that's the other game, but I just know Rowe from the Eagles, man. You got to watch out.
I think, again, this is where Dan Quinn and Smith, their defensive coordinator, it's not pretty. Not the number one defense, but they have a little bit of swagger and confidence to them, and it helps when you know that your offense is going to score every single time that they're on the field. They can play a little bit physical. They can take some liberties. They can make mistakes. They can play with this relaxed football. They don't need to be a dominant, super dominant defense. They need to just create turnovers and make the right play at the right time. And it's you can see that swagger and that confidence is building up. It's a young team, young secondary. I like Collins. I like that middle linebacker Jones. I like Neal. I like their physicality. I like that they want to fly around and hit people. Will it be enough in a couple of weeks? I'm not going to say anything about that right now, but I am impressed about their physicality at this point in time.
Very well done. I think the Falcons' defense was very solid. Brian Poole, like Mitch said, very impressive game. Of course, Deion Jones, I thought was really good. Everybody's been bringing it up to me because I said one comment in a predictions video that there's nobody on defense besides Beasley, and Beasley didn't play that great today. So you needed some guys to really step up, and Jones was there, rookie linebacker. He's done a great job. There's some players that I think are going to be interesting down the stretch, but I think the defense was able to, of course, put pressure on Rodgers, able to not get in his element, which is key. Those corners are not the greatest. Like Adam said, it's a huge weakness, but nobody really has the edge on that. So,
but can I respond to you though, Dylan? I'm not about the corners, but about
good point. Tony Snow brought up. I responded to him in the chat, but I just want to bring this up. The best corner for Atlanta is actually out for the season. Desmond Trufant.
Yeah. Just a quick point though on Beasley today. Probably the way you're playing Rodgers is you don't want him to run around, so you don't need him to be a harsh pass rusher today. You need to get enough pressure on him, but you don't want him to run around. So your game plan is probably a little bit more zone-ish conservative because of that. So,
I mean, I understand it. It just didn't. He didn't really pop out to me. I mean, he didn't really have. I could understand that, but he just didn't really. In terms of the defensive players, was the one. But I'm liking that there's some players that are stepping up and making plays. A couple weaknesses, but we're talking about who has one of the worst defenses, and these are two of the worst here, or at least two middle of the pack to below pack. And Atlanta showed why they had the better one.
Okay, let's get to number 52.
Oh, here we go.
Kev,
will go ahead first because I know.
I just think that this was probably a game that he needed to really step up and be a key player. With all those injuries in the secondary, all the injuries of receiver, the guts we talked about, the guts of Adams, Nelson, Cobb, all these injuries. Clay Matthews had a chance to make a statement, and I didn't hear from him. Not one thing. Shredded everywhere. Not a key factor. Could have been a key factor, and a lot of money wasted on this guy. You've tried him inside. You've tried him outside. Just very poor. Needed more from him today, and you got nothing. I think that if you're a Packers fan, you got to question what you're doing with Clay Matthews going forward.
Yeah,
right?
Like I said, he's on most overrated list for a reason. I think that the number one thing that pisses me off with the Green Bay defense, if I was a fan, I look at your number one pass rusher doesn't play enough. Nick Perry led your team in sacks. Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews play more than him. Why? Also, why does Dion not play? Why is he not play enough? I mean, like these guys up front that are younger, less experienced, maybe don't have the same name value as these other guys, aren't playing, yet they're better players. I don't understand that logic.
I want to say this right now. I'm going to say this. Dom Capers is probably the most overrated defensive coordinator right now in the NFL. He's assumed to be exotic, but he's shown to be exposed time and time again. You even look back to that game 2 years ago, 16-0, they're up. Well, the way Seattle burnt them at the end, that's on Capers. Today is on Capers too. Yes, you got injuries, but you had opportunities to make stops. You have players to play. You've got the next man up. He's a veteran defensive coordinator. He's been in the league for a long time, and I just think he's overrated.
Adam, I know you wanted to say something.
Well, no, I was just saying about Clay Matthews. Like, I don't think the people around the league are still thinking, maybe just people in that locker room that think he is even an elite player anymore. Like, he signed that big contract in 2012 where he's getting paid all the money. I think he only has like 1 year left. But with injuries and stuff, he hasn't really been an effective player for the last maybe 2-3 years.
I don't think he's been that great since.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. That's
I don't even think it's like
overrated.
Yeah, no.
I don't think he's been that great since the Super Bowl win, honestly. Like maybe one or two good seasons after that, but they've been moving around. Like Kevin said, they've been moving around so much that they want to try to fix up their defense because it's shit. And then they're like, all right, we can make Matthews a star player in this position.
I just feel like we used to see spark plays from him. I think he's an example of a guy, and I've said this before. It's a guy that has 12 sacks or had 10 sacks. But he's not a 10-sack guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a guy that's going to roll out of bed every season and get 10 sacks. Yeah. He's a guy that got 10 sacks.
Well, and he was so good off the edge. Like, you almost he needs to – if he wants – I think he just play like a 4-3 D end and put on some weight, go to some team and just be like a third down rusher. Like, he shouldn't be an every down linebacker anymore.
Yeah, he's almost at that Peppers or Freeney stage.
And like Chris Long, it's too bad because he was injured, so he didn't play today.
Oh, he played.
Oh, okay. I didn't even notice him then. That's funny. Because he actually had a great season with the Patriots. If you look at hurries and sacks, and he's a guy that's kind of had a reemergence this year with the Patriots. So, down the road, maybe Matthews just needs to change of scenery, be more of a third down rusher rather than, an outside linebacker that has to cover once in a while.
Like Atlanta uses Freeney, probably the same way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, are we moving on to the Patriots game?
Moving on.
Okay, can I first say this? Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, explain to me, have the Patriots played a quarterback yet?
Have the Patriots played a quarterback yet? Well, I was a big Roethlisberger guy. Obviously, this wasn't the greatest. I think not having Bell. And you know what? I'm going to put a lot on Todd Haley, offensive coordinator. I think some of the play calling that he was mixing up after Bell got injured, you don't run on the 1 yard line twice. They know it's coming.
That was so horrible. I called stuff before the play even happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I always go for a QB sneak. That's just my thing. But then I'm like, bro, it's first and goal at the 1. Why the fuck are you running? Everybody in the world knows you're going to run. Stupid.
But besides the Patriots, we've seen all season on 3rd and inches, no one goes QB sneak anymore. It's the stupid. Do you notice that? No one ever goes QB sneak anymore.
I hate that because it's like one of the most effective plays.
Just do it.
You have your offensive line go.
Yeah.
And then they fucking get it. Like
exactly.
I know Brady almost fumbled, but like that's the exact same play that they had there. Like it's not complicated.
It's not.
Yeah. So I just want to point that out. I mean, there was a lot of Patriots detractors and haters and Patriot people that were picking the Steelers that brought up the point that the Patriots defense hadn't played any good quarterbacks. And while they didn't play that many elite quarterbacks, first of all, look around the league, how many are there? Second of all, they played Big Ben today, and Big Ben didn't really play that great. So there you go.
I'm not a Patriots hater, but I did pick the Steelers just because I didn't respect that defense. And watching this game, I do respect that defense to a certain extent because I think it's more coaching. I think what you said, is that your brother that said about everyone steps on the field, coaching and whatnot?
Oh, that was my dad.
Oh, your dad. Okay, yeah. No, well, your dad's got a great point because it is true. It's like the way they coach that you can make Van Noy look like an unbelievable linebacker and you can make Eric Rowe look decent, which the only one I want to say is like, did you watch Eric Rowe? They missed a couple deep.
Yeah, but I mean, a couple of those passes were out the end zone. I mean, he probably got a little lucky a couple it's playing the third best receiver on a team, it's it might happen a couple times.
I'm just saying, watch out. I'm just saying, watch out.
Watch out.
Watch out in the Super Bowl. Eric Rowe might be.
I also don't think that unless he's on Gabriel, which I don't think will happen, I don't think anyone's going to burn him because the Steelers receivers are fast.
Yeah,
that is something that they do have. They couldn't catch very well today.
They were not very good, but
they can burn you at certain times.
Yes, true.
Although I will say, to me, the Patriots. Let's be honest. Big Ben hasn't been the greatest quarterback all season. I do respect the defense. I do like some of them, but I really only think they played one great quarterback all year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do against Matt Ryan. Well,
this is the best offense in the NFL, Atlanta. I wouldn't expect them to shut them down. I don't expect that at all. I
understand, but when you're talking about the quarterbacks, who they played, to me, Russell Wilson's the only great one so far this season.
I just think a lot of people, and I know Le'Veon Bell got hurt, so it's tough for me to actually explain my point. But why I was so confident as a Patriots fan going into the Steelers game is because, like I said at the top, they have 3 players. And when you have 3 players, I said this in my preview, when a team has 3 players on offense, I don't care if they're Jerry Rice and freaking Barry Sanders, all right?
You might win that game.
Bill Belichick is going to find a way to take away one of those guys, and you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to do something else. And all year long, Dilly can testify like Devon, he can testify to this because I've been saying the Steelers need a third receiver. They need a 4th target to step up and make plays because when they play the Patriots, I know they will. They're going to have a 3rd or 4th guy that can make plays. And we just haven't seen it from them all season long, and that's why I was confident as a Patriots fan. Even with Bell playing, I know he got hurt, and that kind of sucks because now there's excuses galore.
But also, you were talking about.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on here.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm not enough of this excuse. Okay, this Bell excuse is a crap excuse.
Well, I was just saying, because I was watching the game with a Steelers fan, and I was kind of like, well, I don't know if you've ever heard of Gronk, but he's not playing either.
And this is what I was talking about when you were talking about in pregame. Bell might get 90 yards. He might get to that breaking that, which, by the way, did not end, obviously. But he's not going to be the game breaker. He's not going to be the ball buster for the Patriots. It just wasn't going to be something that was effective enough to win a football game because they were going to have Big Ben step up, which he really didn't, and be effective. And Bell was not the answer against this Patriots defense. It just wasn't going to happen. But I want to bring up a point. I brought this up on Twitter.
I got a point too. Go ahead though.
I like it. I like when Kev has a point. He's like, I got a point.
But I want to say this. I fucking told all of y'all, Chris Hogan was the man that was going to have to step up in this game. And what'd he fucking do? Oh, let me bring it up. 9 receptions for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Who also had that today? Julio Jones. The exact same reception line. So, I just pat myself real quick. I know Edelman is great. He had a great game as well. 8 receptions for 118 yards and a touchdown. But I was like, Hogan's the man. They're going to have to.
I think, Hogan, first off. Power to the lacrosse players.
Beautiful game.
Second of all, I think with Chris Hogan, I wasn't necessarily shocked he had a big game, but there was so much talk of him being kind of injured that I was a little concerned, and I wasn't really sure, other than Edelman, who was going to step up. So I'm glad that Hogan had such a big game. I also think that he's really stepped up, and a big thing for the Patriots last year was that it was a Gronk and Edelman offense, and they didn't have anyone else. And this year they kind of had multiple weapons with their running backs being healthy, their offensive line being able to block for more than 1 second. And also, another receiver out there like Hogan, where LaFell wasn't that last year. Kev, you have a point.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I got 2 points. First of all, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 1 touchdown in 9 quarters. That's the first thing. Ben in the clutch. And
Kev, you know what's funny about their touchdown though? They missed the extra point.
Yes, they did.
It was almost like 2 field goals.
Yeah. They had 3 opportunities to get back in this game under Ben, who's supposed to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and didn't get it done. I'm sorry. And here's the other thing, and I'm going to bring this up now because no one wants to seem to have this conversation. I'm fine with Le'Veon Bell was injured, but him pouting around in a uniform
Yeah.
We bitched about Leveon Tomlinson doing this. We bitched about Jay Cutler doing this. Bell pouting around, doing nothing, not even getting involved in the game plan. That's piss fucking poor. And if you're a Steelers fan, you should be damn disappointed that your superstar didn't show up tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kev,
I'm sorry.
I totally agree with you because I didn't really want to bring it up. I'm glad you did. Credit to your balls. But
he's like, oh, he just doesn't.
For me, like, Bell was sitting there, and I'm like, I just saw Jordy Nelson play sick and with broken ribs, and this guy is not going to play with a little bit of a groin pull. I don't know how severe it was, but he still went in after he I don't know if it was a tear. But if it was a tear, that's different. But I don't know, like, why are you standing around there looking like you're pouting in a jacket? If you're not playing, just
get involved in the game plan. Help your running back. Help your teammate. Do something. Don't sit on the bench like you're a fan. That's exactly what he did. If you're a Steelers fan, you cannot be happy about
their players still. Fans cheer on their players.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, don't sit there and have a damn fucking nap. But
yeah,
coach.
No, it's like, you know what? No, this is the thing. And I'm going to piss off Pittsburgh Steelers fans again. But Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers are overrated. They have been consistently overrated. They're in a weaker division than the New England Patriots, quite frankly. They play puffball teams. Everyone seems to love them.
They were this year.
The AFC West is good.
This year?
No. Listen.
Or the North.
Hang on a second here. This Russell Wilson. I'm going to say this again. Russell Wilson played this year with a knee brace, had 3 injuries. You heard Pip do about him not missing a snap. He said nothing about it. He just went on with his day. Richard Sherman played with an injured foot in most of the season. He said nothing in this day. Okay, like there's a bunch of players in this league that constantly give out their effort day in and day out and get no recognition, and we are supposed to sit here and love this overrated, terrible towel B team Pittsburgh Steelers. If they were the Seattle Seahawks, if they were on a West Coast team, no one would pay any single attention to them. Again, I don't care if you're a Steelers fan, they're the most overhyped team in the National Football League, period.
Okay, I'll just say this.
But
I would go to a worse division than the AFC West, though.
Seahawks, of course, they were in a terrible division. But that, but that's not the point. The point is that everyone seems to think that the Pittsburgh Steelers is this great football team, and with Mike Tomlin, with this mighty coach.
They've won two Super Bowls. Seattle's won 1 Super Bowl.
They've won 2 in the last.
You know what? This isn't about an organizational thing. This is about an overhyped thing.
I'm sorry. Why, though? People overhype. Okay, people overhype Peyton's Colts. People overhype all-star team offenses. That's just what they do.
Yeah, they're not.
If it's like the NBA, let me use this comparison, right? You got this big trio, right? The Golden State Warriors, right? You got the Splash Bros. You got KD. You could use Draymond Green there as an example. Every single time we see a big combination, like a big trio, like we have the Killer Bees, it's going to get mass-produced. It's like, holy shit, what a team, because these 3 guys can score. That's how it always happens.
Okay. And how did they do today?
I want to go quickly to the comment section because we have Steelers fans in there.
Steelers!
I'm with you guys.
Okay. Winter, bro, you're awesome for sticking in the chat and being a Steelers fan. Mm-hmm. Ben is old and Haley sucks.
Yeah, Haley does suck. And Ben is old.
Blake says Ben didn't play bad. You guys out-schemed us. I'd agree with that. I don't think Ben played great. Pittsburgh needs a whole coaching change from Winter. Blake. What else we got?
Bro, Coach
Ben has sucked the whole season. I agree with that, actually. I do think he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I think he's not had his best season this year.
And he's getting older. He is getting older. And
but his road stats this year, and they're not an anomaly. 9 touchdowns, 12 interceptions on the road this year.
Awful.
Hogan killed us. No, the Steelers have horrible coaching, and Ben is past his prime. A lot of Ben past his prime.
Coach said that Bell should have smoked a joint on the side. So
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. Coach says
He's
difference was
talented.
Brady was busting the Steelers' aggressive defense, making Pittsburgh's aggressiveness playing into their game plan. I actually thought that Pittsburgh was too soft. We'll get into their defense.
Yeah, what I would say to that, I just couldn't believe that after it wasn't working, why Pittsburgh stuck to zone. Houston pretty much gave the game plan to
You
the
can't
Steelers.
play like Houston, though. I know that you want to, but
You got to play.
no other team other than the Broncos has 3 corners as good as Houston. I know a lot of people don't want to pay attention to the Texans' defense, but it's the best defense in the league for a reason.
No, but I'm just saying after zone's not working, you got to figure something else out.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
at the end of the day, the number one rule of a defensive back is don't get beat deep. And which on that one, it's a flea flicker, but still
the flea flickers
that is where they took advantage of the aggressiveness because Mike Mitchell by nature is an aggressive player. He likes to play the run. He likes to lay the big hit.
Yeah,
and they took advantage of that. That's true.
I think it's a really good play call by McDaniels. Every single time it works, and of course with this Pittsburgh defense, they're always out of to me they seem discombobulated. They just don't know how to deal with the situation.
Even Pittsburgh in the past with the Hall of Famer Troy Polamalu. He was the same way. I mean, he would lurk in the backfield and look, and Brady would beat him deep as well. It happens to all great players. The Patriots are very good at taking advantage of your weaknesses. Let's get back to the comments. What we got? Ben is always hurt with rotation.
Well, true.
I agree. Bell was too busy smoking a blunt.
Yeah.
Why not use both Bell and Williams is beyond me.
Williams is a good running back. The Patriots.
He wasn't bad. Williams wasn't bad today. I didn't have a problem.
He was one of their best players. I mean,
he wasn't bad, but he wasn't I think he should have gotten more done. I don't know. The Patriots were able to stop him. But that is a good question. They should have used both.
Blake says that Kevin is going ham.
Kevin, you're going ham, bro.
Bell hasn't gotten paid yet, so he didn't want to risk injury. That's an interesting take. Hot take. Any comment on that?
I mean, he's played the first 2 playoff games with more rushing yards than any Pittsburgh running back. I don't know why you would stop now.
Blake says Tomlin is a defensive coach, and it didn't go nowhere.
On mute.
Oh.
Okay.
Steelers had a very conservative play calling on offense and defense from Space Cowboy 17.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Going back to the Haley about Haley and his play calling. Obviously, with no Bell, they had to switch things up, but that still wasn't, even the last couple games, I guess, that wasn't the way Pittsburgh won games during the regular season. And there was something a little off with the play calling, like I said, on the goal line. And at the end of the day, that O-line is good, but they still, I don't think, played as well as they could. And if you look at it, I think the best O-lines, you could say, everyone says defense wins championship. Going down in the Super Bowl, those Atlanta and New England's O-line, that could come down to it.
Yeah, this is an offensive Super Bowl. As much as you want to say Atlanta's improving on defense, New England's sneaky good. I mean, on defense, it's an offensive Super Bowl.
It might come down to a defensive play, but it's obviously going to come down to most of the things that are going to happen. It's come down to.
I just think every time I watch the Steelers play the Patriots, I'm not trying to be a homer Patriots fan. But every single time, Belichick outcoaches Tomlin. I've never seen one time where Tomlin does one magical play where I'm like, wow, great play. Or, oh, wow, great idea of doing this on defense or offense. Or, I didn't expect that. Every time I watch the Steelers, I'm like, expected that. I knew that was going to happen.
Tomlin, I think, has this set plan, right? He always plans everything out, but always wants to make it so one-dimensional. He never goes for the shifty moves or bro, we're playing the Patriots this week. We need something that's going to mess with their heads because they're one of the best teams in the league and probably the best team in the league.
And what do you mean Facebook Live wasn't the answer to that, Dylan? Come on.
Shit.
We'll say that again?
I think Kev wants to talk a little bit more about the Pittsburgh. So as he does, I just want to say this. The Steelers are no Penguins.
What did you say, Kevo? I didn't.
I said, you mean Facebook Live wasn't trying to get into people's heads? Oh,
It wasn't Tomlin that was doing that.
Yeah, Tomlin
No.
would say that if that's what I heard about that thing is Tomlin would have said that any team. He was just a coach. It was in the locker room. It shouldn't have been even recorded. That just was coach speak. You go into any locker room after the game, Belichick's probably like, F those assholes. We're playing right now. 100%.
Oh, of course. I'm not.
Right?
I'm,
So that's
I'm
what I'm saying.
mostly
It was just
I'm
unfortunate he recorded it and then gave,
It was a
I don't
bad
think
move.
it had anything to do with anything.
My problem was with it that he didn't wait till his coach and quarterback were done talking to do it. I don't
100%.
care if you do it, just wait for your guys to stop talking.
Yeah.
My big thing with the Steelers, amongst everything else, was there was some really poor tackling tonight. Specifically, the first throw to Edelman, terrible, 3 missed tackles. That plunge run at the.
Does that not
just
always
after the
happen
camp.
against the Patriots?
Yeah. It was pretty like a regular Patriots game. Like you
Yeah,
watch it, right?
The Patriots are the best after the catch. Edelman's one of the best after the catch. I understand you have to tackle effectively to beat them, but it's just something that a bad defense, they're not going to be able to tackle. This isn't the Ravens defense. This is what I was saying before the game started. Patriots, when they lose at home in the playoffs, it's to a great defense. They've only lost twice, and it was to the Jets. Great defense with Darrelle Revis, one of the best corners of all time. And they had the Ravens defense with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
And that's what's going to be interesting to this Super Bowl. Like, obviously, we're going to get into that another time. But at the end of the day, the best team against the Patriots have been a defensive line, a powerful team that can get pressure. And the one thing I did notice in this game, how good is Tom Brady stepping up into the pocket, the best I've ever seen. Like,
yes, he is. He's not Aaron Rodgers when it comes to
in the pocket.
pressure.
Yeah.
But when he's in the pocket and he's able to step up, like that one touchdown to Hogan was like, wow, why didn't he just run? But that's the brilliance of Tom Brady. Wastes that extra second, touchdown.
Well, it's almost like the tackles and the guards like, okay, you can try to beat me outside. I'm just going to keep on pushing you. And if you want to cut inside, Tom Brady's already stepped up, and he's almost at the goal, at the line of scrimmage before he throws the ball.
And I just want to say something. Like, I used to not really like Brady, and I more so not off. It was more off the field, just looking at it. But now I'm just appreciating as I'm getting older and seeing more seasons of him, just how good he is. Like, he can adjust to every situation. They're so balanced and crafty that when Brady's in there, he just looks smooth. He looks like he's playing a game of 7-on-7. Like, he's just like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna toss up a little football, see if you catch it. There's a craft to it. That's so simple.
He's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I think what makes Brady great is, like, I've heard defensive players say this, and it's just like you'll watch a typical quarterback and they'll maybe try and force a couple passes in there. But the thing that not only with all these other things that he has that's great about him, but sometimes it's like Brady will just take that play. He'll take the 3-yard catch every once in a while. He'll just take the 3-yard catch when maybe a different quarterback, even a Ben Roethlisberger, would try and throw it over the top instead of just taking that 3-yard catch because that's where the coverage designed him to put it.
Well, we even saw it today with Rodgers. There was one throw where, I don't know, I'm guessing it was second down if I'm not mistaken. He just throws a bomb down the field when he could have taken a small 3 or 4 yard catch from Cobb and it got intercepted. There are certain quarterbacks that just have to focus on finding a receiver. Just like, if I don't even know if somebody's open, I'm just going to force it. Brady doesn't do that, and that's what I like about it.
Okay, let's get into the stats because we haven't talked about them yet.
Not a single second about stats.
We'll get to some more Kev ranting because that was entertaining as hell. But we'll get into some quarterback play. We just talked about Brady. We did talk about Ben. Let's just go over their stats. 31 for 47 for Big Ben. He was obviously trying to pass a lot because they were trailing in the game in the second half. So 31 for 47. 314, touchdown and an interception. Terrible interception. I don't even know where he was throwing the ball. It was to Eric Rowe. Touchdown was nice. I mean, it was at the end of the game. Didn't really matter that much, but he got it. Tom Brady, 32 for 42, 384 yards and 3 touchdowns. This is one of the best. He's had a lot of good games, but this is one of the best Brady games especially in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
As good as Brady has been in the playoffs, it's usually in the Super Bowl or in the divisional round. And this championship, he's somewhat he rather plays a great defense and he doesn't really have a great game, or he's had a couple good games, but every once in a while, like there's games against the Colts where he didn't really have to do anything and they would win. And then there was games against the Broncos, which obviously he struggled in that.
The Broncos won last year was because of the defense. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they couldn't block anybody. The Ravens, great defense, but he still found a way to win one of those games. The Colts game where they lost, he was great in that game. And there was a couple other games like against the Colts back in the day where he was just a kind of a different quarterback. But this was his best performance in the championship round, in my opinion, that he's ever played. And that's saying a lot. He has pretty much every record in the playoffs: completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns, even interceptions now, wins, everything. Super Bowl appearances. Bill Belichick add on a whole bunch of records as well. But Brady was magnificent, and there's not much else to say about him. It's Tom Brady. I mean, we just talked about him. Ben Roethlisberger, I thought that he was a little off on a couple of throws.
Which has been his whole season.
He did avoid pressure at times, which I think he does a good job of, but that offensive line is really impressive. I thought the Patriots didn't get a lot of pressure. It was mostly coverage that did the Steelers in. And I thought Ben did a pretty good job of kind of taking what was there, but the Patriots stopped them and tackled well at key times to kind of force them to punt. So for me, Ben didn't play horrible, but I didn't think he played great, and I definitely don't think he played as good as he needed to beat Brady.
Well, this is what we've been talking about all season. He just hasn't been consistent in the regular season. He had one good drive to get them the AFC North, basically, and ever since it's like you got killer B, but like one of your Bs is not really there. You got Antonio Brown, where like basically you throw it up to him. He's going to be one. He's the top 3 receiver where he's just going to catch it. You don't really have to rely on them much. But for Big Ben, AFC Championship game, of course, you're going up against the Patriots. Very difficult to win this game. So you're going to have to make big plays, and he just wasn't there. All season long, he's been very inconsistent. And I don't want to get into Kevin's discussion of Hall of Fame because I still think he is a Hall of Fame quarterback. However, this season, if you were just to look at this season in particular, didn't really show up and didn't really step up. So this game, to me, was just a bigger emphasis of his whole season.
One of the things I was just going to say, 20-yard plus plays, New England 6, Pittsburgh 1 today.
Yes. And they got Chris Hogan for a lot of those. So, yeah, they got burned on that.
Adam, I'm interested to hear from the guy that's more of a Steelers fan.
Well, the only thing I'll say about Roethlisberger, he wasn't great. He missed definitely some throws. But the big thing I'll look at is they don't have a second receiver. Rodgers is good, but that's more of a slot third receiver. If they can get someone on the outside like Hamilton is no good.
Well, they have Martavis Bryant, but he needs to lay off the weed.
No, I know those guys, right? Like, what's going on in that locker room? They're probably toking with Tomlin a bunch too, and Haley, I bet, was high half the game. That's why it's play calling. Oh, for sure.
Especially in the red zone. I mean, in the red zone, they probably thought it was the green zone.
No, nice. But I'm gonna give Ben is still good. He still has the talent. I don't think he was 100% healthy. He wasn't all season, and then there was some drops by Hamilton deep, but he was a little off on those deep throws. Obviously, in those situations, other teams like Green Bay sometimes got away with those, the receiver making a big-time play. Obviously, a good throw, but he needed a little help, though. Obviously, Coates in that first where he had a perfect ball and Coates stopped running. There was the one Hamilton in the end zone, and then there was another one where he made a bad throw to Darius Bay, I think, right?
I was actually surprised. I knew that the Steelers kind of were a deep ball kind of team. They've always been with Roethlisberger at quarterback, especially the way that they've been playing this season where they've kind of been a run-heavy and down the field type of team. But the Patriots, I'm sure, I don't know the exact statistic, but they've been the best defense at not giving up long plays. So I was surprised how often that they were actually getting past the defense. So that's maybe something to pay attention against Atlanta. That would definitely for Belichick be a point of emphasis for them. But
and I agree with you. Like I think I mentioned before, I did think that a couple of those, right? Like they were just misses.
Yeah, they were like just missed. Rather, it wasn't a great throw, or the receiver wasn't really there. Maybe at a time, like especially Eric Rowe was mostly on the end of that. Like he would maybe get like a hand in at the last second or something like that.
And that's a good defensive play. Obviously we're not talking about the Super Bowl yet, but I think that's definitely going to be an emphasis. But you know what? I have to admit, it's hard to bet against the Patriots. It really is. They're that good. They're coached perfectly. They just find anyone from anywhere just to, like I feel like maybe I could be a receiver for the Patriots, Maybe 5 years ago I probably could have been. Maybe not.
Dream big, man. Dream
big. I still could maybe I'll play in the CFL first. But anyways, it's great what they do. And Brady is the heart of it all, obviously with Belichick. And now like with Brady's performances, he has to play like that in the Patriots the last like 6 years, right? Their first 3 Super Bowls, he had a great defense behind him and established, and they had more
ever since about I would say about like 2006, he's had to kind of
he had to win games himself, right? I think he got lucky in his first, not lucky, obviously the Heat, they had a great team. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think Hogan is as great. I know he's a very important for that offense. I think obviously it's hard to be like Hogan, is he going to do this next year? But maybe you just needed him to do it in this game, and maybe he might not have a big game in the Super Bowl, but he was a guy that they needed him to play big, and he did, and helped them get the win.
I think it's going to be interesting, a carryover for the Patriots this game, because they played a lot of zone in this game, and we know Atlanta is going to play a lot of zone. So it's going to be an interesting carryover for the Patriots.
Can I make a point about Ben and the Pittsburgh offense here?
I want to hear your rant, Kev.
Well, if I'm a Pittsburgh fan, I'm surprised this wasn't talked about more, but you have 3 timeouts at the end of the first half. After you go in on the field goal, 4th and goal, you get your field goal. You had a chance to stop them, and you ran out the clock. You had a chance to at least get a few more points. I wasn't sure what Tomlin was thinking there. You had 3 timeouts, and they did nothing there. Like they just let the clock run out. Like if you're playing the New England Patriots, you need to get as much points as possible.
But at the time, they were only down 8, and Pittsburgh was thinking, we get the ball back in the second half. Let's just get out of this. We should be losing by more in a way. It seemed the whole game, the whole first half, it seemed like New England should have been up by 20 rather than 8, right?
I also said this in the preview. You guys can quote me on this, but I said if the Patriots are winning at half, they're probably going to win.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you try to get as much points as possible. When you're playing the Patriots, I don't think you play that game conservatively. I'm pretty certain Atlanta is in that same situation. They're calling timeouts to make sure they get that ball back on the offense. Just saying.
Well, also, I think Atlanta's smarter. I think their whole team comprehension is a lot more smarter than
Okay, we have 2 comments that we're talking about your 3 or 4 comments here. We have a lot of comments, but I'm trying to get to the most as possible. Space Cowboy says, Big Ben is becoming the Romo of the AFC. Great when healthy, but is starting to become injury prone.
Yeah.
Blake says, Blake says, what was he saying? I agree with Kev. When I was watching, I said the same thing. He's talking about time management. Blake also is talking about Eric Rowe, who says he'll have an uphill battle in the Super Bowl.
He says he's going to get torched.
Adam. Winter says, I'm just tired of hearing excuses coming from a Steelers fan. From a team I want to see rings. It's going to fucking piss me off when they get 6 like we have. I think he's talking about the Patriots getting 6.
He was also talking. I saw the comment. He's talking about they might have to get rid of Tomlin at this point. Cut the leash. Which I don't know. It's interesting. Do you?
Derek, coach is in again. Says Matty Ice is smart. He will not bomb away. He'll use his weapons. A team that controls the clock and limits mistakes will win. One game, anything can happen. Not always the best team wins.
And we saw. Also said Dan Quinn is a very good coach.
He says Dan Quinn. I disagree about the Seahawks part because
3 coaches, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Brady has played very well against the Seahawks defense, so I would kind of.
Hey,
it's always been a help. I mean, I'm not saying he's always been really statistically good.
Yeah, but Atlanta doesn't have Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Cliff Averill, and Michael Bennett.
But Mitch, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. 3 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years. You cannot take that away.
Was Dan Quinn the coach of the team?
He's 1-1.
He's 1-1. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but Brady had 4 touchdowns in that game.
True.
And I think to give Quinn credit for 3 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And Quinn is funny because he's Pete Carroll seems to hire the exact same offensive coordinators every time.
Yeah.
Bald guys with goatees. It's like
Everywhere.
It's the
Even
staple.
in college, you would do this shit.
Yeah, Gus Bradley, bald guy, goatee. Dan Quinn, bald guy, goatee. Coincidence? I think not.
I think not.
I think here, but Blake says again, we're getting into the Super Bowl a little bit too much.
We got to talk
It's hard not to.
a little bit. I mean,
He says Matt Ryan has more weapons than Pittsburgh. I agree. That's why I thought Atlanta would be a difficult matchup, which I think is going to be a very interesting game. Let's get into some of the playmakers for this game. Antonio Brown, let's discuss him. 7 catches, 77 yards. I thought the Patriots did a great job of taking him away. I saw a ridiculous tweet before the game, which, again, my dad sent me, which said Steve Mariucci said that Antonio Brown would have over 120 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I said to him that he'd have less than 100 yards and 0 touchdowns. I was accurate.
What a goof that Mariucci brother.
Because I knew that they were just going to double cover him. I don't it's not
Because
that hard.
Again, Belichick always knows he's the smartest coach in NFL history. If there's one playmaker for the receiving game, you're going to focus on him more than anybody else. That way, somebody else is going to have to step up for them. And if they do, you did at least do your job of getting.
Especially when a lot of those catches did come against zones, but again, especially when you have a guy that's already an elite corner and Butler covering you with a safety who's also a Pro Bowler, it's hard. Rodgers 7 for 66. D-Will 7 for 51. A lot of that came at the end of the game. D-Will also had 34 yards rushing, 14 attempts, and a touchdown. Bell had 6 carries for 20 yards. And then the Patriots, Hogan 180 on 9 catches and 2 touchdowns. Edelman 8 for 118 and 1 touchdown. So a lot of the yardage through the air came from both of those guys. Bennett, I thought, toughed it out. And this is a guy I want to discuss, Kev, because this is a guy that can back up your argument when it comes to Bell. This is a guy that was reported. He did not say this. It was reported through ESPN and the Patriots team that he has basically a broken ankle and he's playing. So that's a pretty tough guy. It was also nice to see him after the game celebrating with the cheerleaders with the pom-poms. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny.
A very charismatic and outgoing guy. So, for him, he's like, bro, I've been playing with shit teams. Yes, I know he played for the Cowboys, but God.
Funny, though, because he doesn't even, acknowledge that he went to the playoffs before this year. He's I don't remember. He's like, it's my first time I've ever been in the playoffs. I'm like, no, you were on the Giants and the Cowboys. They both made the playoffs.
Yes, and God, I think it's funny how he shits on each one of those 3 teams. Even though I'm a Cowboys fan, I'll still take the fact that he hates Chicago way more. So, but yeah, I mean, this is obviously a newer experience to him to get to this point. So I think he wanted to tough it out, especially with no Gronk. He needs to be a big player for them, maybe in the Super Bowl. So I like it. I like Martellus Bennett.
Hey, just so you know, you may lose me because of my battery, but I'm going to try to get my way back in here. So don't worry if I'm gone.
Oh no, we need Kevel to stay.
Any thoughts on the playmakers, guys, for both sides?
Well, first of all, we talked about Hogan.
Beast.
I think, but I would love to see more, watch some tape and see how he got open on those and how he got so open. Because it'd be something I'd have to look back, because obviously when you watch the replay, they just do a short thing where you can't really see exactly. You just all of a sudden he's open, catches it. But yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive. The way he worked Mitchell on that one route, slowed like he was blocking and then went deep. It seemed like he's just well coached. He's a guy who has athletic ability and was put in a good position. McDaniels and Brady did a good job of figuring things out, and Brady getting the ball to him. Edelman's just going to do Edelman things. There was that when he got that touchdown on that route. I don't even know how that route's written up. It's not it's
Edelman. It's an Edelman route. Nobody else runs that route.
it's not like in like simple high school and college. It's like, okay, a post. You go run this way. You're going to go 10 yards. You can cut left. He's like, when they showed the tracker of his routes.
Yeah, it's like
it's routes. I'm like, you would never teach that. I guess you would in a certain but that's more. You get to know the quarterback. All you really know is like, do whatever you need to do to get into this location. I think it's more about rather than run 10 yards and then slant.
They run a lot of option sort of Wes Welker routes.
It's fun to watch. And that's the thing is Brady showed it doesn't matter who the guy is. So it's always hard to I respect Edelman, but obviously Hogan had the big game. It's really hard to dissect if it's the receiver or if it's just that offense and getting those receivers into good positions.
I do want to say though, coaching is a big thing, and there's certain players that fit the Patriots scheme. Not everybody has fit the Patriots scheme, just to mention. But I saw Hogan in Buffalo. The guy had talent. The guy stretched the defense at times. He beat corners. From being a Patriots fan, I saw him for a few years, a couple of years at least. Watch him, and he was a good player. And I just thought when he signed with the Patriots, I was really excited because I saw a guy that kind of gave a different skill set to the offense. He's a taller guy. Yes, he's white. I understand, but he's not Edelman. He's not Amendola. He's a taller guy. He's an outside receiver. And he was kind of like a LaFell, but he's turned out to be better. And he's really had good chemistry with Brady. So it is partly the offense, but I think a lot of credit has to go with Hogan with the ability to, they brought it up a lot, but he was a lacrosse player in college, didn't have much football experience, becomes a football player, has a couple years with Buffalo where he continually got better, and then he kind of breaks out with the Patriots, especially in these playoffs.
Yeah, I'll respect it. I'll respect it. It's hard when a guy puts up that many yards and that many catches. He's a great player. And like I said, I don't know. Obviously, he's going to be part of the scheme heading to the Super Bowl. But what he did, if they go on to win the Super Bowl and he doesn't have any catches, you always will come back to this game and be like, wow, Hogan really got it done in that situation.
Yeah. Dylan, Kev. Oh, Kev's gone.
Well, Kev was non-existent at this point. I'm telling you, I said Hogan was going to be a beast. He is a beast. I just very talented. Somebody that when Edelman was going to play a great game overall. I knew that was going to be the case. But when you need somebody else to go to and have a target, Hogan's the guy. And with Gronkowski obviously out, you need somebody to step up, which is something that the Patriots did and the Steelers.
That's huge, Dylan. Good point.
Yeah, the Steelers weren't able to do. So you need somebody to step up and make big plays. Hogan was the guy, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works out in 2 weeks. Kevel is back.
I'm back, and it's quieter.
Kevel, we're talking about Hogan, the Hulkster, and all his Hulkamania.
That's my name for him. Hulkamania. I was thinking Hulkamania was running wild in Gillette Stadium.
Hogan Mania.
Hogan Mania.
The New England Patriots just do this. This is a New England Patriot thing. They find these people that no one else seems to pay attention to or look at. I think the thing that and they use them and they find a way to use them to the best of their abilities. It's just a credit to the scouting staff, credit to development. He had a great game. He wasn't Gronk-like in terms of beast mode, but he found his way to get open. I thought the Pittsburgh secondary was absolutely in all areas terrible. No creativity in terms of coverage, easily beatable, lots of missed tackles, but Hogan had a great game. You cannot dismiss that, and Brady was having a great time finding him.
And this was something that I wanted to bring up because we saw this last week. I said it after the recap. I said it on the preview. We saw Alex Smith last week. Steelers defense played well, but there are times, especially down the field, where he missed receivers or he just didn't go to them for whatever reason. And again, that's the difference between Brady and Alex Smith and both offenses in general. So defensively, we talked about the playmakers. I did think, actually, last thing on the playmakers, Lewis wasn't that involved in the game plan. So we'll see if he is in the Super Bowl. Patriots always do that. Blunt, Lewis, White, we don't know who's going to play. Jonas Gray, I don't know. Lawrence Maroney, I don't know. Who's going to play?
Danny Woodhead?
Danny Woodhead did a special appearance,
Well,
Wes Welker will come back.
They'll do
Well,
it.
I did remember that when they played the Rams, Jeff Fisher did think that Danny Wood had still played for the team.
Yeah.
That's depressing. God, I hate Jeff Fisher.
Or like a team should just cut someone, because isn't that how the Seahawks like shadily picked up Hester? That they just dropped Hester with like 2 weeks and he just plays in the playoff. That was kind of shady, Kev. I know you're a Seahawks guy.
Rant.
That was shady.
It was shady.
But, well, I mean, people do shady things.
So if I commit murder,
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Caught on camera, maybe it was shady.
Yeah,
Hester should get cut again and then play for the Falcons again. That's what should happen in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, defensively, Timmons had 14 tackles. That was kind of expected because you would expect the Patriots would hit the middle a lot. He's right in the middle. Davis, their young safety, had a sack and 9 tackles. Burns, 6 tackles. Harrison did nothing in this game. That was a big disappointment. Hargrave had a sack. Dupree did nothing. He was a guy that was expected to do a lot. Those 2 guys, literally, I did not hear from. Logan Ryan.
Or Shazier. Or Shazier.
Kind of
Shazier wasn't
Shazier.
bad.
He did some nice tackles every once in a while. Logan Ryan, nine tackles in this game. Kyle Van Noy, 4 and a forced fumble. Eric Rowe, an interception. Devin McCourty, 4 tackles. Butler, 4 tackles. But the rest of the defense, Trey Flowers had a couple of pressures. They didn't get a lot of pressure after the quarterback, but their coverage definitely played well. Chris Long, I think, had a couple pressures as well earlier in the game. But any guys on defensively as not the Patriots fans stand out to you guys as non-Patriot fans, then also anyone suck on the Steelers side or just, you felt that didn't perform to the level they needed to?
I think that I'm going to say this because I think most of the Steeler fans on the channel will probably agree with me here. I do think that they missed Dick LeBeau a lot. There's a lot of exotic and different looks that he can give that I think that Pittsburgh was very vanilla tonight, which makes Brady's job a lot easier. Not a lot of exotic looks, different looks. Too conservative, and again, just poor tackling. For a Pittsburgh, as much as I rant on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, they are known for their defense, their physicality, their tackling. And
Kev, you rant on the Steelers?
I know. I'm just shocking. I mean, no one heard anything that I said 25 minutes ago. But I mean, for the Pittsburgh Steelers historically are known for good tackling, good defense, disciplined defense, hard hitting. You saw none of that today. I don't know if that's Tomlin or not. I don't think it's Tomlin. I think well, it can't be Haley. He's the offensive coordinator.
It's Haley.
It's Haley.
It's
Obama,
everybody.
man. It's a Barack Obama. Okay. I know. No, but there's something missing in the culture of Pittsburgh right now, where it's just they're not the Steelers. They're not the Steelers that people know the Steelers to be. Terry, and let's go back to Ben's drama. Like, Terry Bradshaw played. Like, this is a team in the previous years that had limbs and broken legs and concussions and all of these things. They still came out and they played and won Super Bowls.
Kev.
What is with this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
Because
Kev.
they've got more Super Bowls than the Seahawks. That's all I can say.
People were yelling at Bradshaw when he said that Tomlin was a cheerleader. And I was right there, and I was like, bro, he is. Nobody wants to say it, but Tomlin isn't the guy right now. They need a new coach. I want to say this, though. The Steelers have a young defense. They were outmatched wit-wise against the veteran quarterback. My opinion, the greatest of all time. And they got outsmarted by Josh McDaniels and that offense. And they're a young defense. They don't have a lot of experience. So that's something. I think they have some players for the future on that defense. And Kev was saying they don't have an identity. Their identity is their offense. And it didn't really show up today. Despite Bell getting hurt, it didn't really show up to be that exotic, high-scoring offense. Defensively, that's not their identity anymore. And even with the Steelers in the past, even when they didn't have a very good defense, they were still physical. And what we saw today was
that wasn't physical.
We saw a soft team. Harrison didn't hit Brady. Bud Dupree didn't hit Brady. Nobody hit Brady. Nobody was close to hitting Brady. They had 2 sacks. Nobody was hitting Edelman. Edelman's going to get right back up and get in your face, but nobody hit him. Nobody was hitting Lewis like the Texans. I mean, there was nothing there from the Steelers side to put any sort of intimidation or, just going to the Patriots and being like, hey, we're here. We're in this game. We're going to fight you to the end. We didn't see that from the Steelers today.
And
I just want to point out, Mitch.
I was gonna go ahead, Dylan. I have another rant.
You have more of a point. I'm gonna fuck with Mitch in a bit. So go ahead.
I want to point out one more, and that the challenge. We didn't talk about that challenge, the 3rd and 1 challenge.
Okay, I don't get the challenge because there was no way of telling who had the ball.
Absolutely, but everybody was confused because fucking Nance is telling me shit that doesn't matter. Like, oh, they made conclusive stuff, and it wasn't even real. And then there's no way you're going to find the ball in between 18 defenders, or 18 people piled up on there. It's just not possible.
And the problem was that they called it down, so it didn't really matter who was in the pile. It was a fumble. If they called it a fumble right away and Pittsburgh at the end came up with it, that was going to be the right call. But obviously they called it down. When they look at they call it down and a Patriots recovery or whatever they did. And then when they go to the review, they realize they fumbled, but there's no evidence to see who gets the ball. Because I think the initial call was down by contact, which didn't happen.
Yeah. It just did. There was one play in the Falcons-Packers game that we saw that was way more conclusive when was it Rybkowski? He fumbled a second time, and it should have clearly been a fumble, but they didn't challenge that. So, if you're not going to call that and you're going to call this one a fumble, just wasn't going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to add that because I thought that was such – and it actually turned out to be a turning point in the game because it was only 17-9. They weren't out of it at that point in time.
Right.
And they went in and got a field goal, and it was deflated. I just felt like the team found ways to deflate themselves. Pardon the pun when we're talking about the Patriots.
I was about to say you meant that totally.
But they found ways to deflate themselves with missed opportunities. They weren't out of the game after the first half, but they weren't in the game. You know what I mean?
There was at no point where I felt afraid as a fan.
Yeah, especially after that defensive stand at the end.
We weren't losing at any point.
Because if they did score a touchdown there, that would have made it a 3 or 4 point game, which that would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
But then they didn't, and I think that deflated Pittsburgh more than anything. Was only getting a field goal, 1st and goal from the 1 yard line. You got to score there, and I think that deflated them a bit too. Got in their heads, and then Patriots just get in your head. Can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to some of these comments.
You got a lot of them.
Yeah, we do. I don't even know where to start. They have a cheerleader for a coach because their offense is soft, too busy smoking and filming on Facebook. It's going to be a good game between the Falcons and the Pats. Pats have a good offense, but I'm going with the Falcons taking the W. Tony Snow says Pittsburgh defense has not been good for years now. Brady and Gronk did the same thing last season. Brady and Gronk have done that consistently to the Steelers. I agree. 11-10. Hi. Winter, but the Falcons was up 1,000. I don't even know what he's talking about. So yeah. Oh, and he says I blame the 3 a.m. wake up call.
Hey, you could. You definitely could.
Here come the excuses.
No, I'm just saying they were tired. They looked tired too. It wasn't like you could see they were tired.
Maybe that's why Bell was pouting. I didn't get my sleep.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. I need my sleep.
Bro, I just
Kev, were you gonna rant? Or was it just me?
No, I don't. I'm out of rants right now. You know, I got my good one in, and
I might have to replay that at some point.
I think it's because Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, and now they have 2 instead of 1.
No, it's not that. It's really not that. It's just you watch this team, and it's just like you hear the experts that are like Pittsburgh. You know, Pittsburgh's got a shot. Pittsburgh's really got that shot. It's like, no, they don't. Can we just be realistic? No, they don't. They don't have a shot. I know that you guys love Pittsburgh, but they don't have a chance.
I don't know
Sorry.
who.
These
They do have
so-called
a chance.
experts, like very
Okay, I
useless.
just want to point out because there are so-called experts who unanimously picked the Steelers today. NFL Network, every single one except for Sean O'Hara, who beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 42 as a member of the Giants, picked the Steelers. The Fox team, almost all of them picked the Steelers, except for I think 1 or 2 out of like 8. And I don't know about ESPN because I didn't see their picks. But NFL Network and
It was
Fox.
such a sweep for them. Like, honestly, I can understand, like, wow, you got this offense, killer bees shit that the media likes to push out a lot. But are you honestly telling me that the 22 people that the Patriots put out on the field today is worse than what the Steelers put out there coming into it? Just it wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen.
Well,
Okay, I want to say something here. I'm gonna. This is not. I got my rant. Okay, press record right now.
Not the one we just heard, but this one. All right.
The New England Patriots, for a team that has this much championship pedigree, is one of the most disrespected franchises in history. Like, are you like? This is a slap in the face that you're telling me that a team that is 14-2 with 6 straight AFC championships, that you're not giving them. You're going to find an excuse that they haven't played a quarterback. They went 4-0. They went 3-1 without the best quarterback of all time. They even shut out a team with a number 4 quarterback.
Actually, I want to bring this up with the disrespect. That's a good point. NFL Network ran like a 5-second like little, I don't know, commercial or whatnot, previewing the AFC and NFC championship game, and it showed all 4 quarterbacks except for Brady. They didn't show Brady in the AFC thing, so I thought that was funny.
where is Roger? Where is Roger?
That's the thing, though. I think New England fans are gonna make it so much about Roger, and the media is gonna make it so much about Rodgers, and the Patriots might not care or whatever. But I think it's that the Falcons are gonna stay under the radar. We'll save that all for a different time. But I think the Falcons, with all that Roger talk, are going to be under the radar, and the fans and the team are just going to be focused on winning and saying F you to Roger Goodell.
I'm going to say this, though. The New England Patriots are the standard of professional sports right now. You can't argue that. They are the standard.
They're the standard, but still, I'm looking at they were the standard, and then they're still somewhat the standard, but still one Super Bowl in the last 11 years.
There is no debate. Don't even.
No, but one Super Bowl in the last. I still would like them to win this one, because then that's 2 and 3. That's respect. It's like my hockey thing. One Stanley Cup is not enough. If you want to be a dynasty, it's 2. Doesn't matter if you win every single year.
4.
No, I know, but I'm saying the last 10 years, man, they got a totally different squad. It's the quarterback and coach, but I think if they were the standard, they won 3.
They are the standard. Name a team that's been more consistently winning in professional sports.
Chicago Blackhawks.
No.
No.
He's like, no, absolutely.
No.
3 cups.
4 Super Bowls. Over 15 years.
Less time.
Blackhawks have been good for 6 years.
The only team I
won
can
3.
say is close is the Spurs, and they still find a way to mess up at times. So I'm going to go Patriots.
I just think they got to win this one to really, because if New England loses, obviously we'll get in those talks. They're a great team. They're going to be the favorites in the game. If they lose, they're
actually favored by 3, which I think is pretty fair.
Which is fair, but I'm just saying if they lose, 4 and 3 is great because you're making it. But it's the trophies that count. I think there's going to be a little pressure because if they win 5 and 2, that's best all time. If they lose 4 and 2, I'd still take some other teams before them. That's all.
I think they're the best dynasty ever. That's just my opinion.
No, I totally respect that. I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure on them to win this game. A lot of different reasons why.
I think there's more pressure.
I think because they're the favorite.
I think there's more pressure on Matt Ryan to win this football game.
I do too. I think that'll be one of the storylines. The pressure's
I will
on
say
Matt.
this: MVP hasn't won the Super Bowl since '99.
So you might not want to win it if you're Matt Ryan. Yeah, and by the way, that was Kurt Warner. So interesting indeed.
No, it's going to be interesting because I think out of all the Super Bowls too that New England's been in, this is up there with their first Super Bowl in the opponent. Right? They've never played a better offense than the Falcons. They played it once, the Rams, but you'd say the Eagles, Panthers.
Eagles had a good offense,
but they had no skill players. They didn't have a Julio Jones.
T.O.
But T.O. was injured and had a broken leg.
Panthers had one of the best run games, and they had Steve Smith and Muhammad.
I still wouldn't put that in the category of the Falcons.
And they had better defenses.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just talking strictly offense. Strictly offense. They're the second best
I will
offense
probably agree with Adam on this one. Because even though the Eagles and Panthers were...
I'm not saying they played slouches.
No, they didn't play slouches. But I'm just saying, if we had to rank them, I'd put them closer to the Rams' greatest show on turf rather than all those other teams.
Yeah. Any other comments, guys?
No, I'm good.
It was a completely, kind of a boring weekend to watch the football because, honestly, I thought it was going to be a little bit more close. However, we did see who the better teams are. We finally got that answered. The two best teams in the conference are going to play in the Super Bowl. I think this isn't going to be a runaway. I think it's going to be very contested. Maybe an upset. We'll see how it goes. But again, it's 2 weeks. We're going to talk a lot about it. But I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of key components to the game that's really going to shape it up to be, I think, a really great Super Bowl. Of course, Patriots defense good and all. There's no such thing for the Falcons, minus a few key players. Jesus Christ! But it's going to be interesting to watch, and I'm excited to see that game in 2 weeks.
I think the story of this is the legend versus the new age.
Yeah.
Because it's now the question becomes is if Belichick and Brady are the greatest combination of all time, and is Matt Ryan and Dan Quinn the new powerhouse? Is it is someone rising up? That's, I think, the early story of this game.
I do also want to say this, just a couple points. I agree with all those points, but I want to bring up one more thing. I think this is the two best offensive coordinators in the league.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was saying coming into. I was talking.
So I think it's going to be very fun to watch. I think we're going to have a lot of creative football out there. It's going to be very fun to talk about all the matchups, the X's and O's, and all that stuff. So if you're a fan, Patriots, Falcons, NFL in general, if you're watching the Super Bowl, I mean, who isn't?
Who the fuck is it?
Channel if you're new, like that video, and let us know, of course, throughout the weeks who you think is going to win the Super Bowl, all that stuff. We will be, as Kev gets a drive-by.
Woo! Hey, baby!
Doing some big videos for the channel. We'll be having different sort of videos. I think we're going to be doing some I actually want to discuss with you guys, but we're doing some Super Bowl retrospectives kind of thing. You know, we're going to go back to some old Super Bowls. We'll look at some Patriots Super Bowls. We'll look at that one Atlanta Super Bowl, probably one. And we'll talk about those. We'll do some videos on that. And we'll probably do like top 10 New England players of all time, top 10 Falcon players of all time. We'll do those type of videos to get you guys pumped up for the Super Bowl.
Can I bring up two things real quick before we head out?
Go ahead.
Bill Belichick spoke about the Falcons. He said he didn't even know they won today. So classic savage Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And second, I want to bring up this fact I will also bring up in our Super Bowl recap.
Insta-chat.
Or preview, I should say. What the fuck am I talking about recap? Matt Ryan has played every single team in the NFL, minus the Falcons, twice. The only two teams he has not beaten, the Steelers and the Patriots. Going to be interesting.
Ooh, good stat, Billy. Where can we all find you? If we want to follow you on Twitter, if we want to check out other projects.
I'm at AdamC11, and my last couple words are what I wanted. Just for your Patriot fans, I've cheered for the Patriots in their last 4 Super Bowls. Every time, I cheer for them in the Super Bowl. I always like to pick a team. I'm going to let everyone know my money's going to be on the Falcons, so I'll become a Falcons fan for the next 2 weeks because I'm going to have money on the line, and that's how I really become a true fan when I have money on the line. So I'm going to be. That's why I was a little bit Pittsburgh fan because I had money on Pittsburgh, which I lost. You have to be a fan if you got money on the line, so it should be good. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. Exactly. But I might be a little Falcons fan, but I got to keep Mitch honest, right? They're a great team, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah. You can follow me at WrestlingGod27. I'm going to be super busy the next 2 weeks because I just got a new job, and I'm going to be fucking busy with everything. However, I'm going to try to release some bangers in the next 2 weeks so I can get it out to everybody, as much as I can. Don't slander me if I can't get everything out there, but I want to make a couple videos to get you guys hyped for the Super Bowl. And stay tuned. Takeover review Saturday with the boy Mitch and Kevel. I know they'll be excited for that. And just stay tuned because the channel is growing. And we hope.
Also, thing to mention, we have a lot more NHL content starting this week. 3 to 4 videos a week on the Bottom Line View. So if you're an NHL fan as well, trying to transition from we'll still do a lot of football after the season, but football into more other stuff. NHL is one of those big things starting this week a lot. So if you're an NHL fan as well, check out the channel.
All right,
Kev.
Let's see. I got podcast 5 days a week on my podcast, Spreaker.com/Kevel. Raw review tomorrow, maybe SmackDown review Tuesday, NXT Saturday, hockey. I'm know for sure we're going to have the Fireside podcast on mine. We're going to talk about the Calgary Flames. We're going to talk about the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to review the Vancouver Canucks. I'm wanting to also put this out there. I'm going to get the Patriot fans together to do a Patriots fan podcast to reflect on their season, but I also want to do that with the Falcons. So I would be interested to hear what they have to say about their season as well and what they're looking forward to, what their signature moments were, and what their expectations are going into the Super Bowl. It's a big moment for the franchise.
It's probably their best season ever. So congratulations to Falcons fans already. It's probably your best season ever. So that's awesome.
And a
all
Canadian
right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all the comments. That's awesome. Stay tuned to the channel. We're, of course, going to have a review after the Super Bowl. That's going to be super fun, probably. Even if the Patriots lose, I'll still try and have fun.
Me and Cal have already had to go through this year. So if it happens,
you got to do it. Yep.
You might hear some ranting if they do lose, but if not, I'll just be super happy. Thanks, guys, for watching. Peace out.
Peace.